Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed this clip, but before you do, please hit subscribe. We were just talking and you told me a story. One, you said in Salt Lake, having 5 kids is normal. 5 kids is a lot. I've got 3, and that's a lot. But then you told me a story and you said, in our family, we don't half-ass anything. And this is a great story. So tell the story that you just told me and how you grew your family from 4 to 5 kids.
Yeah, you bet. So we had a girl first, then a boy, then 2 girls. When we were pregnant with the 4th, my wife gave me my wish. Each time I wanted to wait until the child was born to find out what the baby was going to be.
You're crazy.
I know. She told me that each time. So she finally on the 4th said, look, we've got 2 girls and a boy. You can have your wish. We'll wait. And we really thought that our daughter was going to be a son. That's how we felt.
Okay.
So we were just fully convinced. The whole time through the pregnancy, we felt that way, everything. Well, she was about 7 or 8 months pregnant. And it was one of those kind of quiet moments at night when you got the lamp turned off and you're kind of laying there in bed, gathering your thoughts, thinking about what happened for the day, what you have, for the next day. And my wife says, I think we need to have another baby. And I heard her. And I heard her and I said, I know, I'm so excited for this baby. And she said, no, I think we need to have another baby. And I said, no, I'm just so excited for this baby. I can't wait. She turned the lamp on and she sat up and she said, you need to listen to me. We need to have another baby. And I said, look, you're 7 months pregnant. Like, let's just take it easy. Maybe it's some hormones, some pregnancy stuff going on. Let's just take her easy and let's figure out take life as it comes here. So she stays on me for the next few months about it. And then we are actually in labor and delivery, and we've successfully, she's delivered our 4th, our 3rd daughter, and everything's gone great. Doctors left the room and it's just kind of her and I and the baby. And she looks at me and says, we need to have another baby. And I said, oh, you got to just take it easy. Let's breathe. Let's think through this. We just had this baby. So she keeps up on it after me for a few months on this. And finally, she tells me, and this is really the end all if you're a person of faith in your relationship with your significant other. She said, I feel like we need to have another baby. And you can't deny those feelings. Those are feelings from a higher power. And I said, fine, I'll give you and God 24 hours to tell me that we need to have a baby. I will open my heart for 24 hours. And I don't know about you, but I don't really have dreams very frequently. And that night, I went to bed and I dreamed that I was playing with a young Polynesian baby boy.
Oh my gosh.
And I woke up, and not only did I have the dream, I can still envision the entire dream in my head right now as I'm just telling you this. And it was that real for me. So I woke up and I said, this is what I dreamed. And she said, okay, I have no idea how we're going to accomplish that, but let's go to work. So there's a pretty hefty Polynesian community in the state of Utah, and there's a lot of cross synergy between the Mormon Church and Polynesia. And so there are a lot of people there, and we reached out to more or less everybody we knew to say, does anybody know of kind of maybe a troubled situation or maybe a teenage pregnancy situation that was unfortunate? We'd be happy to help place a child into a home and be a 5th child, and nice home and opportunity for a child to be raised. And so we reached out and we spent a lot of time doing that. We couldn't find a path. And so we finally found another mom who had adopted a baby from Tonga, and she lived in San Francisco. She's an adoption attorney. She had adopted 2 babies from a birth mom. And within a month or 2, that same birth mom became pregnant again. And so she called us over Facebook video, which is a thing you can do. And so we got a call from Facebook video, and it's this, lady from Tonga. She lives on this island of 300 people called Nomuka. And she said, I'd like to come to America and I'd like to give you my baby. And so we were on the high of highs, right? We had a birth mom. We were excited. It was a great thing. But as any adopted, anybody who's gone through the adoption process whatsoever can tell you, there are a lot of highs and lows through this time period. And there are moments where you think everything's going to be fine. And if you add international adoption in, the variables go way up, as did ours. And so The laws in Tonga required that we had to live in Tonga for a year if we were going to adopt a baby from Tonga. And so what we attempted to do is to have her come, she had decided that she was going to come to the US on a visa. And so 2 times during this pregnancy, she went over to Fiji, which is the closest consulate office, to try to get a passport to come to the US, a visa to come to the US. And she got denied the first time. And we were pretty disappointed. At the time, President Trump had tightened down the border at that exact moment. And so it was just kind of a tougher time that we're not granting very many visas at the moment. And then she went back and attempted it a second time in November. And it was actually over Thanksgiving weekend. And she attempted it a second time, got denied a second time. So to give some perspective, for the birth mom to get to Fiji, there's a boat that comes by Nomuka twice per week. So she had to get on the ferry and then get to Tonga Topu, which is the main island in Tonga. And then she had to get on a flight that went from there to Fiji, which was only every few days. So, I mean, each time we're going back and forth, you could talk about as much as 7 days or 10 days to travel one way. So, she got denied the second time. And I'll never forget this. We were down in southern Utah. We were having a Thanksgiving celebration with my wife's family. And she got denied the second time. And my wife, she went home to her home island and kind of given up on the adoption process. At this point, we don't really know when the baby was supposed to be born, but we just knew it was sometime soon.
And why didn't you know?
There's not really hospitals, right, on the islands. I mean, even in American Samoa and Fiji and some of the more advanced places, they have clinics, but there's no ultrasound machines. Okay. So no clue. I guess you're measuring with a tape measure and guessing. So it was an interesting time period. So my wife actually was so depressed, she gave herself the flu and was sick. I took her to a client event in Southern California the week after Thanksgiving to try to cheer her up a little bit. And back to your comment that I made as we walked in here, we were sitting there and we just decided we don't halfway anything in our family ever. And so I'll never forget, this other moment during this process. I was sitting there at the koi pond by the Nordstrom in Fashion Island in the mall in Newport Beach. And I just sat there and I, hotspotted my phone, got my laptop out and bought 5 international flights for 5 days away. Right. And so the idea was that my wife was going to take our younger 2 daughters and her parents, and they were all flying to Tonga. And then our birth mom was going to fly to American Samoa. So they were all going to kind of travel together as a party. And so, by the time I stood up, my credit card was melted, almost clean off. And then what I did is booked another flight for myself and my older 2 kids for December 21st after they got out of school. For the holiday break. And so it was a rough time period there financially. But we basically decided we had to commit for it and we had to go for it. And I think maybe the most unnerving feeling, besides the fact we had no idea if this was going to work, is we had no idea when we were coming home. And so my wife, while I'm doing this and online, she is literally frantically running around the mall buying things because she thinks she's going to be living in American Samoa for somewhere between 1 and 3 months and has no idea. So it was kind of a wild time, but long story short, if we fast forward, the birth mom was able to travel to American Samoa, and she went there and birthed the baby, and we named our son Junior and wanted him to have a nice Polynesian name. And there you go. Rest is history.
That is an incredible story. And this is, for anybody listening, this is who you're dealing with in the real estate world. They do not half-ass it. That's a really cool story. How long did you end up being there? Was it 1 to 3 months or was it relatively quickly?
Yeah, it's a good question. She arrived the first week in December on the island, and then we all left together the second week of January. So my older kids and I got about a 3-week vacation in there, which was lovely. And then they got a little bit longer.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.